I would like to introduce our friend from Palestine, Dr. Husam Zomlot. He represents our dear sister party, Fatah, a party that has been represented here at our Congress for decades. Dr. Zomlot is a visiting fellow at Harvard's Center for Middle Eastern Study. He's, of course, engaged in international affairs in Fatah and has been representing his party at the United Nations, also where Palestine reached a great achievement when it was accepted as a non-member state last year. I hope that at our next Congress, I will be able to welcome you from a free and recognized Palestinian state. Welcome to the stage, Dr. Zomlot.
Thank you very, very much, Stefan. You have really managed to inspire hundreds in this hall and inspired me. This is a very, very cherished opportunity to be addressing the Congress of the Swedish Democratic Social Party, a party that we have partnered with for all these years, a party that we have found common values and common grounds with. Thank you very much, and I do feel among family. By the way, literally among family. My wife is from Malmö. We were on the phone this morning on the FaceTime, seeing me in my hotel room, and she saw the sun and the weather, and she told me, "Are you sure you are in Sweden?" I said, "Of course, this is also part of the reception here." I do bring the greetings of Fatah, the greetings of the leader of Fatah, President Mahmoud Abbas, the greeting of the General Commissioner of its International Affairs Department, Dr. Nabil Sha'ad, the greetings of the Palestinians for your Congress and for your country. I was asked to talk about Palestine in 10 minutes. God help me. And being with you yesterday and today, it reminded me of a statement I used to make when I'm asked about the solution for the Palestinian issue. I used to say the best solution, if we are neighboring Sweden, that will resolve most of the issues we have. Regrettably, we don't neighbor Sweden, we neighbor other countries. That politics there is not based on what I have been hearing from you, comrades. Politics in that part of the world, and some of it is still based on power, on diktats, on interests. Little ethics, Stefan, little values that we share. And this is exactly what I will take back home from this very important experience. I heard you yesterday, I heard you today. And it's rather, really, really summarizes the entire situation. I want to go back to my party and to my people and to tell them that I have found different definition of politics in that Congress I attended. It is not just about power. It is not just about interests. It is not just about egos. It could also be about ethics, about values, about principles, values of fairness, of equity, of dignity. I heard you, Stephen, this morning saying that politics to you as a leader is really about every one of us. And us for you is not about us or them. Us is one family. I heard you, and I heard your colleagues saying that us as a family goes even beyond the boundaries of the party or the country. It's the human family at large. We subscribe to that, Stefan, big time. And you also told us that this is not domestic, it's international. You told us it's international because your values that you want to see in this very country is the same values you apply in your foreign policy. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of every Palestinian child and woman, every Palestinian man, every Palestinian martyr and prisoner, everyone who have fought hard to attain the very values you speak about. On behalf of all of them, I thank you for your stance when we went to the United Nations, for your very principled position to support Palestine becoming a state in the international system. We salute you for that, and Palestine now is a state in the international system, thanks to your efforts. Yes, it's a state under occupation. Yes, it's a state that its land is being stolen by the day. Yes, it's a state that its people that are being subjugated to racism, to occupation, to denial of very basic rights. But our rights have been affirmed in the international system. We do have among us here today the ambassador of Palestine, Ms. Hala Frez, who represents us in Stockholm. She has been, because of your efforts, now an ambassador, received as an ambassador, and the mission now is treated as a full embassy. Thank you, Hala, for all your efforts, and thank you for being here. Also, I wear this pen here, which is your campaign, called Mark the Occupation. And I'm not surprised that the Swedish Social Democrats have started to mark illegality, to put your words in action, to walk the walk. I'm not surprised that you are telling everybody involved, we are going to uphold our values. When we are talking about settlements, we mean illegality. And when we mean illegality, we will not consume products that are being produced on stolen land and from stolen water. We salute you for this campaign. I will very briefly try to summarize the political situation in using really the current, rather discouraging political reality, and then really focusing on one man, that is Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli current prime minister was elected for the first time in 1997 on one ticket, one main political program, killing the peace process. And by the way, it's public, it's on the YouTube. He was elected, and I think he can take the credit for killing the two-state solution and, in effect, ending the peace process. In 2009, he was elected again, promoting one idea, grabbing as much land, building as much settlements. And in these last 4 years, it has been unprecedented, regrettably, his success in colonizing big chunks of the West Bank. Now, just 2 months ago, he was elected for the third time in another ticket, that once elected, he will just hand in the power of the housing policies of Israel to the leadership of the settlement movement. And exactly this is what he did. This really summarized not only a one man and his beliefs, but behind him an entire, regrettably, political class in Israel that really do not believe in the two-state solution, nor believe in the ability to reach a political settlement. The one convention they have is this is not an occupied territory, but disputed territory. The denial of the basic Palestinian rights and the objection to any possibility of establishing a Palestinian state. I do not want to tell you much further, but even President Obama, when he visited us last week, the main argument he came about addressing the Israeli society is in effect telling the Israeli society that he has no hope of this current leadership, that this current leadership is not going to get us to the two-state solution and to peace, and therefore the best thing to do for the Israeli society, Obama told them, is to bypass their leaders, pressure them, i.e. change them. But this is what we are facing right now. This is the reality. This is the status quo. A status quo that is very comfortable, has zero cost, is profiting from the occupation, using most of our land, all of our water, dumping the worth of $4 billion goods in our captive economy, having and enjoying a culture of impunity. And there is very little in it for them to change the status quo. That's why, comrades, friends, I stand before you today absolutely convinced that the answer as far as a third party is concerned is here. Is here in this very hall, is here in this very continent. It is not in the United States of America. It is in Europe. Because in the US, this issue, Israel-Palestine, is not a foreign policy issue. It is a domestic issue. In the US, it is a domestic issue based on the narrow definition of interest and lobby groups and funding and money. In here, it is Europe that defines itself based on the neighboring policies, on your integration with your own communities, on your openness to the East, on your ability to export your own values. There and here in this very hall and beyond in Europe, we find the hope for the future. And yes, please mark the occupation, Anne. And I know Anne have worked tirelessly on the campaign. Mark the occupation. Thank you, Anne Lind, very much for your work. Mark the occupation. Mark all the illegalities. Mark every single violation against your own rules. We do not seek to mark violations against our demands, your rules, your regulations, your values. When there is a violation against the very basic values of human beings, we have to mark it. We have to expose it. Mark every violation that is tantamount to apartheid. Mark every violation that really segregates between communities. I think this is the future, and regrettably, this is the future, so we bring a better future for all of us. And I'd like to end here by saying this. This morning, a young boy of 17 years old was left to bleed to death by the Israeli occupation forces next to Nablus. They shot him 4 times for the crime of protesting the settler violence, non-violently. His cousin, 17 years old as well, tried to rescue his cousin from the hands of the Israeli occupation forces and was shot again and died. We had 2 young boys killed this morning. And despite the grave situation on the ground, I'd like here to take this platform to commit to you, comrades and friends, to commit Fatah and to commit the Palestinian people to the following. First, we commit to peace, Stefan. We commit to the real peace. We commit to the peace that you describe as a peace based on equity, on dignity, on a real perspective for our young kids, the ones who just saw their lives taken away, reach their potential. We commit to peace. We commit to nonviolence. We do. We commit to our ability to return and keep the moral high grounds. And we will engage this occupation and this segregation and this racism with our nonviolent means, like the United Nations, like using every single international legal and political mean upon us, like using your solidarity, and like our very creative popular resistance on the ground. We also commit to social democracy. We commit to your values, not only in Palestine, but also to be a bridge between you in Europe and the Arab world. As Anne knows, we have been playing a major role in creating the Arab Social Democrats Forum, because we believe social democracy is not only a solution for our Palestinian situation, but it is the solution for the Arab world. It is at the heart of the Arab revolutions and the Arab Spring. And finally, I do believe that the best way forward is not just to call for peace, it's to act for it. And to act for peace, comrades and friends, it requires standing firm behind our values, really firm behind our values. We need to make sure that Naji, the one who was murdered this morning, this young boy, that Naji and his cousin, their blood has not gone in vain, and that the other cousins of Naji, and that my half Palestinian, half Swedish son, Saeed, is going to have a future without walls, a future without occupation, a future without siege, a future without checkpoints, a future when their full potential is utilized and reached, a future when they can just be able to engage in building a better world, not only for Palestinians, but for Palestinians, for the Swedes, and for all of us as a human family at large. I salute you, and I promise you we shall overcome. Long live the Social Democrats of Sweden. Long live Sweden. Long live Palestine. Thank you very much.
I guess you can feel the warmth here. We had the pleasure of having dinner together in Ramallah this autumn. I had the pleasure of visiting President Abbas. It was a very, very nice visit. And we had we had a very good discussion, and I can assure you, you know where we stand. We want you to have the future, no more killing of young people, no more killing at all, but a free Palestinian state. That is our goal. We'll make sure we get there.